3 previous Broadway cons. Give it up for Ruthie Fearberg!
Can you hear me? Yes, there we go. All right, I'm so thrilled to be here. Are you guys thrilled to be here? Yeah! Any better weekend? I think like BroadwayCon and Tony's weekend, that's where it is. I'm so thrilled to be here for the Pretty Woman, the musical panel. We've got a great group of bold, talented, pretty women here to talk about the brand new production. I can't wait for you to meet them. First, we have producer Paula Wagner, who has produced for film and television for over 20 years, including a little movie known as Mission Impossible, as well as Broadway shows like The Heiress and Mothers and Sons, and now Pretty Woman. Welcome, Paula. I'm gonna sit with you. All right, Renee Marino, come on out. Renee made her Broadway debut in Jersey Boys, and you may have seen her on Broadway in West Side Story, or Wonderland, or Chaplin. I have seen 2 of those. But right now, she's the dance captain on Pretty Woman. Allison Blackwell, come on out. Debut in The Lion King and has been in Broadway's Porgy and Bess and A Night with Janis Joplin, and now she is bringing the house down as Violetta, the opera diva in Pretty Woman, as well as other roles. And of course, Tony Award nominee, or Faye, best known for her Broadway turn as Paulette in Legally Blonde, the musical. And is now tearing it up on stage at the Nederlander Theater as Kit DeLuca waves to her phone and her look. What?
Okay.
Amazing. All right. Pretty Woman the musical.
This. I'm not just being shanty.
I want to start by talking about the idea of bringing the movie to the stage and bringing it here now. I have loved this movie for so long. My grandmother, it's her favorite picture. She will watch that movie till she's gone. And so many people feel the same way. So Paula, if you could talk first, there's so much going on in this cultural moment especially, that people were, wary of like, what's this going to be? Are you going to touch my favorite movie? Can you touch my favorite movie? How? Talk to me about bringing it now.
First of all, I'm thrilled to be sitting up here with this amazing group of women. These 3 women and the rest of the women in our cast, every night, 8 shows a week, bring to life the most indelible and incredible characters. So you have to see them all do what they do. So thank you.
Thank you, and we get to be headed up by this amazing Pretty Woman.
I know, how amazing is it to have a lead producer who's a woman on your show?
It's the best.
Amazing. So, of course, there's controversy. There was controversy about this show in 1990 when it came out. But this is a show that is one of the most beloved movies of all times, comedies, romantic comedies. And it's left, frankly, an indelible impression on people. So, of course, taking it on is a task. You want to do this right. Gary Marshall, who was an extraordinary man.
The director of the original film.
He was the director and the person who brought to life the original film, which was written by J.F. Lawton, and Gary Marshall and J.F. Lawton not only made the movie, but wrote the book for this musical. So the important thing is to know that this is a movie about love, something we could all use a little more of now in 2018.
19.
I'm sorry.
But we opened in you guys opened
in 2018.
Okay,
of course.
That's why we have it in our head.
But I started working on the show 6 years ago with Gary Marshall and J.F. Lawton. but we could use love, and this more of it. This show is about love and redemption and finding your dreams and allowing women to have dreams and find their dreams, which is a very important issue today with women. We always talk about dreams, and men can have dreams and find them and achieve them or not. Well, the same thing can happen for women. This has a great female character. We have worked to make stronger certain characteristics, like she's really in control of herself, but she's not where she wants to be. So that's your redemption. She made a mistake with her life, now she has to find a way to correct it. And she says right up front, I want to be anywhere but here. And with her best friend Kit, played by the extraordinary Orfeh, the two of them together figure out who they are, and they realize they'll do it on their own, take control of their lives. They're not going to let people tell them who they are. They will tell themselves who they are and other people who they are.
Well, there's that line in the show that we were talking about. I'm
so tired of letting everyone else define a woman's worth.
That's it. That's this moment right there.
And that is a very critical point of what this show is about. But all the great moments that everybody loved have been brilliantly theatricalized by Jerry Mitchell and musicalized by Bryan Adams and Jim Valance. So we have this extraordinary synthesis. But at the bottom line, she says, I can't go back in the second act. I'm not going back. I may have done something that I'm not proud of or happy of, but I retained my soul. I am who I am, and I'm going to go on. And when after the two of them realize these two unlikely people, and that's what this story's about, two people that you could never imagine could fall for each other, when they fall in love, she is able to turn to him and say, no, it has to be on my terms.
Right. And in so many ways, this is true from the movie, that he was really, he's the exterior picture of success, but he is really the one who's lost. She's the one with the agency. She's the one who comes in and makes a business deal and says, I know exactly what I want, and this is, what I'm asking for it, and take it or leave it, buddy.
She's a great negotiator, as you can see.
Absolutely.
She negotiates her terms and demands that they're followed and accepted.
How do you all feel being, three women in this show, and you work through the development process with Jerry, and like we've been saying, Pretty Woman can have there are so many different perspectives about it. What was your perspective going in, and what is your perspective now, having worked on it and created through it?
Well, I always felt that the movie and the show is about self-love first, before loving a man or anyone else that you want to love. So for me, just reading the script for the first time and hearing the music, I immediately was connected to the idea of loving myself more. And that's the journey that she goes on throughout the show, and that's the journey of us ensemble. We aid in that, being Violetta, being Mary Pat. We are letting her go through her journey of finding her own self-love. And until you love yourself, you can't love anybody else. And so that is what I connected with first when I read the script, and I did the lab, did Chicago Out of Town, and even now in this Broadway run, I'm still learning more about myself and what I need to love more about myself every night when I do the show.
That's awesome.
I know for myself, being a part of this project and being a woman, I feel so proud to be able to tell this story every night on that stage, because the bottom line, if someone said, you just have to sum up this whole show and this whole experience in one word, what would it be? And it's love. And it's not just the love of Vivian and Edward and Kit and the happy man. It's the team of family members, which is all of us, like Allison said, aiding Vivian in her journey. And it's just, I get chills even saying it because I know for myself, when we come out for the bows every night and we look at all of the faces of our audience members who are standing on their feet, there's something special about it. And I've done many shows, as we all have, and you know, you can feel the difference when it's not just audience members standing up and clapping because, you know, they saw a great show, as compared to when they're standing up because they've had an experience and they have tears in their eyes, and we walk out and sign autographs and they go, thank you so much. Like, we watch the news every day. There's so much chaos going on. There's, you know, so many negative stories you hear. It feels so good to walk out of the theater and just feel happy.
Well,
you know,
and
it's that
you
simple.
in the ensemble, especially like the dancing and the choreography and the energy of the show just will make you happy no matter anything else. But or Van wondering.
Well, I mean, my beautiful sisters here said everything, but I think what's interesting is something you tapped on. We've got, often when we come out of the stage door and we see people, you've got 3 generations outside. You've got the grandma, her daughter, and their child, the daughter's child, and they've all seen, it was like the mother's favorite movie as a teenager. It was the grandmother's favorite movie to take her teenage daughter to. Now you've got the daughter who may be able to see it on, you know, cable, but now they're seeing it as a musical. So that's 3 generations of women who are just pleased as you know what to have just seen that, you know, to have seen our show. And I've never, from the first day, and I've been with this show since literally the first half-act table reading. It'll be 3 years in July. So I've been with this show a long time, and Gary Marshall was still with us. I was lucky enough to get to work with him. And I never felt it was anything but what it is. A female empowerment story, a Cinderella rising from the ashes story, which is, you know, throughout time, that's a story that's indelible forever. And I never felt it was anything but a redemption love story. Love is love. It doesn't matter who or what, from whatever background, from whatever race, from whatever gender. If you love someone, you're gonna make it work. And it doesn't matter how. It matters why, and it matters that you make it work. So I have never seen it as anything other than that. So what? We happen to be hookers. Oh well. You know, it's like it would be the same story if we were all lawyers. It would be the same story.
If she was a sales clerk, if she was,
you know, it doesn't matter. And the fact of the matter is, the entire show, all the characters in the show are geared towards empowering and lifting up the next person. Even in Never Give Up on a Dream, if you've seen it, if you haven't seen it. The whole chorus is telling Kit, don't give up on your dream, change your life. Yeah. So even when it's not Vivian that we're all putting up here, everyone is geared towards favoring their colleague, their friend, their, you know, person that they hang out with or they're fond of. So I kind of have never seen it as like an icky thing. I wasn't too worried about it coming to Broadway. People talk a lot of crap, so who cares? You know, here we are.
Well, it seems like this is exactly the moment that it actually is auspicious for it. But speaking about the generations and how beloved this movie is, regardless of anything that's going on in a culture at any moment in time, bringing something so loved and taking it from the screen and putting it on the stage and adding music and figuring out how you're going to change it is a really difficult thing to do.
It is.
And I'm wondering, having worked with Gary, what was it that he felt, because as the story goes, he's wanted it to be a musical for so long, like pretty much since it's been on the screen.
25 years.
Yeah. So what was it that he felt there was still left to tell specifically as a musical?
Well, what defines why, the first question you ask is, why this movie? Why this movie to go to stage? Not all movies, and I've been in the movie business almost my whole career, except when I started in the theater. Acting. But why, not all films make great musicals or plays. But Gary Marshall had a dream and believed in it, and believed that this had all the elements. and all the things that my lovely, incredible cast are talking about and what I talked about is Gary saw. He saw a great character. He always was a supporter of women and women's rights and empowerment and all the issues we're dealing with now. I think Gary Marshall was one of the people early on making a lot of great movies about women and their journeys. And he saw that, he saw the structure for a great story, a classic story. Look, art, and whatever, as entertainment, it's art, whether it's commercial art or art, whatever it is, always comes from some source. Books to movies, movies to plays,
right.
Plays to films. West Side Story won the Academy Award. Chicago won the Academy Award.
Right, so many people don't realize things come from plays and become musicals. Things go from books. Things go
Shakespeare.
from...
Shakespeare didn't write anything original, truly original. And so that there's an art form that is in a nascent stage right now.
Good word, Paula.
I had to get something out of my college
I love
education.
that, yes.
That's good. That it's legitimate. There are movies that make great musicals, and what defines it? The structure, the characters, and the music. And we have the great fortune of having Bryan Adams and his longtime person who wrote with him, and Jim Valance, of course, who has written many, many songs that you all know. And he's an artist unto himself. But Bryan Adams, we all know, is the great Bryan Adams performer. And I think you feel the flavor and you feel the homage to the 80s, because this show takes place in those magical moments of the late 80s.
Yeah. Orfeh, you mentioned 3 years ago you had half a script. What were those early script conversations like? Things that you have to have in there, things that are flexible. Your character has a much more developed arc in this show.
That's true. That's my fault. But the thing to go off of what Paula was saying, also you have to remember there are some movies that you watch, and I know I think a lot of you have seen this film. You're looking at the characters, and everything in film is takes and extreme close-ups, and you're kind of begging for this flourish. Those are the movies that wind up becoming great musicals because you get the flourish. You want those characters to burst into song, and clearly you can't have them do that in a movie that isn't a musical movie. And then you kind of get the payoff with a musical. And I think those are the musicals that wind up becoming successful based on films, because these characters generally are larger than life, but there's only so much you can do when it's this. So that's just a touch on your nascent conversation. But as far as listen, here's the short of it, because I can sit here for hours and break it down for you. But the thing about a movie that was such a big hit, kind of like Rocky and things of that nature, where they're iconoclastic films that are in the zeitgeist forever, you wind up coming to the theater and you go, well, why am I going to the theater? I can see this film 100 times a day for free on basic cable. The reason you go to the theater to see something like this is because you're going to get more. You're going to get an original score, you're going to get new actors, you're going to get new spins and takes on the characters. But what changes the game is that you're going to go and you're going to get to see these characters in a much larger spectrum. And at the same time, you walk in and you walk out and you go, oh, now I know this about this character. Now I know this about this character. And as far as what we got a lot of flack, again, by those idiots that you don't really pay any attention to, we got a lot of flack for having a lot of the movie in the show. What I get flack for is, why didn't you say Reach, Bev, Wilch?
Yep.
So you can't kind of win for losing. You have to split the difference. But I will tell you now, I fought to get Cinda fucking Rella in the show.
I was just gonna say.
Because I
can't have it without it.
There are certain iconic lines, or it was like Andy always references to Andy Carl, my husband, you may know him. he always references the fact that there was a time where he wasn't doing the Rocky voice in Rocky. And I was very clear, I'm not bossy, but I was very clear. I said, you know, you can't imitate Sylvester Stallone, but if you don't give the audience what it is that they loved about Rocky, you're screwed. That's it, it's done. So if we were to do this show and leave out certain, like the jewelry box, leave out Cinda Blubblorella.
Cinda Effin'. We'll go with Effin'.
You are done. You're done. You're done. You might as well just cash the check and say goodbye. You know, so I think with this sort of thing, you have to, it's like not having had Bruiser in Legally Blonde. You have to have Bruiser in Legally Blonde. You know what I mean? So there are certain aspects, and then you can springboard off of that. But you're cheating the audience because they're coming to the show because they love the movie.
To stick with you for just one more moment,
thank you.
One person was like... But it's not just the iconic lines, right? Like, these characters, like you're saying, are... The personalities of them themselves are iconic. So what is important for you when you come to Kit to say, I want to inject this in her, and there's a reason I was cast in this role. Let's bring this piece of me to her.
I think well, other than the profession, I think I'm very much like Kit in the sense that I'm a very big champion of my friends. I'm a very big I think that's why I wind up in the roles that I wind up in, because that's very much who I am. I'm always rooting for the people in my life. I'm always wishing better and more, and I don't care if it means Andy has to go to London for 6 months and I'm not going to see him, or Allison has to go somewhere else, or Renee has to go somewhere else, or Paula has to do another movie and not cast me in it. It's okay. You know, but you know, I think that's what I relate to Kit, is she doesn't care. She knows that if she betters or helps better Vivian's life, she's going to lose Vivian, but she's willing to make that sacrifice. You know, I think that's where we are very much alike. But right? I mean, is there more to that?
I have to say, if you've seen the show, and if you haven't, it's to see these lovely ladies, and there's a whole cast of people that aren't here, including some men.
Yeah, we invite them too to be on stage.
But when Orfeh starts to sing, watch out, the back of the house of the theater starts to vibrate. She's phenomenal on stage.
So speaking of expansions and blowing roofs off of theaters, that opening number, Welcome to Hollywood, that was the moment from the very beginning. You're like, all right, I'm strapped in for the ride, because Eric Anderson, one of the men in this show, you guys expanded the character. He was a blip, and yet we all loved him. What's your dream? What's your dream? Right? If you've seen the movie, you know that guy. Now he's a full character, and he's our guide for the show. But tell me about putting together that opening number, especially with like the Jerry Mitchell choreography and setting the stage for the musical that is Pretty Woman.
Well, Jerry Mitchell is a genius. If you don't know, you should. And the reason why, besides, his talent and his Tony Awards and all that, what I love so much about working with him is he always puts story first. Which means, as you know, the ensemble and the amazing singers and dancers in the show, if I do some amazing, triple turn into a split and it doesn't fit the story, it's like, great job, Renee, but we don't need it. And what's so great about that is that the theme and the story is always first and foremost. And it's just so inspiring to be led by him in that way. And speaking of the opening number, that was most important for him because that is what sets the tone for the entire show, right? So we had a couple different little incarnations of the opener, of course, our Out of Town, because, you have to kind of see what works and what the audience is responding to. And again, what Jerry does so well is he uses his actors to what their best capabilities are. And Eric Anderson is so incredible in his own right, and he's such a chameleon. And Jerry kind of just let him do his thing, and then ideas would be sparked for him to be like, ooh, this is great. Now you're gonna come over here and, oh my God, this adds to the story here. And then by the time we were finished, we had this amazing opening number that set the tone for the rest of the show. And I'm so happy to hear that you love it so much, because I love coming out for the opening number because of that. I feel like it's letting the audience know from the get-go, this is what you're gonna get. Have fun, it's a ride.
I was gonna say, so knowing that an opening number has to set the stage tonally,
Yes.
musically, and set up a narrative, right? You have to go somewhere in the story from your opening number. If there were 2 adjectives you had to pick that like drive the mojo of that number that you're thinking of in your head, like this has to do X and Y, or I'm feeling this and that.
You have to set up fun. We have to have fun, because the next portion of that is Anywhere But Here, where she's talking about, I want to get out of here. So it's kind of that Renee, please.
Excuse me.
My time.
My turn.
You have to set up that whole idea of we're having fun, we have choreography, everything, and then everything kind of simmers, and then we have a whole new situation. We see Vivian a little bit more, a little deeper into Vivian, really what's going on with her. So for me, I just have fun. I'm in a huge wig, I have 90 clothes on, I live my life. And it's so much fun because we get to interact as ensemble, we get to interact. And in the show, we have some group numbers, but not a lot when we're all on stage. So we get to really have fun when we're on together in those type of numbers. So
that actually,
I
Paula,
wanted to
go
say
ahead.
something about Allison's character, and in fact, all of you, what Jerry has done, and it's subtle, and it's very subtle, is everyone has a double life.
Well,
in
that
this show.
was my
Totally.
question,
Yes.
because I know that ensembles, I love to watch an ensemble, because you guys you're not tied to dialogue, but you are tied to story in a lot of moments. So I want to know who your 2 characters are that you've created for that number, who's wearing big wigs, like who are they? Tell me who they are, so that when people go see the show, they're like, oh, I know that girl is the...
Oh, I'm ready for you, girlfriend, because I couldn't wait to create my opening character, my lady of the night, if you will. So her name's Luciana. Her dream is to be Paula Abdul. I mean, that's who she aspires to be. So when you come see the show and you see my wig, you'll know exactly who I am, because I kind of look like Paula Abdul. And our amazing wardrobe department actually got me earrings made that say Luciana.
True story.
Everyone
True
just like
story.
cold-hearted snaking up there.
No, exactly. That's exactly it. I'm like, that's it. That's my dream. You just watch out, because I'm gonna be the next Paula Abdul. That's my main character, and then I get to join the beautiful Orfeh on Rodeo Drive, where I represent in my Chanel suit, and then
Supermodel realness.
Yeah, supermodel realness, if you will. I'm 5'3" in real life, so this really is a fantasy for me. So I just enjoy it during that number. And then our Act 1 closer, which is one of my favorite numbers. It's called Beautiful. And we get to play the shop girls, led by Mary Pat over here. I'm Mary Frances. And it's just so fun because as women, when I was a little girl, I love to dress my Barbies and like to play with my dolls and brush their hair. And that's what it feels like we're doing for Vivian, It's so exciting. We're dressing her up, and, we're letting her live out her fantasies. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to close Act 1. So those are my characters.
But the thematics are certainly, I always look to the thematics and things like this, is that people are people. Human beings are human beings. And you can go from Hollywood Boulevard to Rodeo Drive to the polo match, whatever it is. It always goes back to the heart of who you are as a human being. And Allison, I have to say, I'm sure she'll speak to it, but what she does is phenomenal. She has a very important character, starting at the beginning. Well, we all do, but she starts at the beginning, and she's kind of the sidekick to Eric Anderson's Happy Man, who kind of helps everybody find their dreams, and he's like this
All right.
fairy godfather.
So talk to us about that, Allison.
And go to what you do
Start
next.
from the beginning. Who's your girl in this opening
Well,
number?
she was set up to be a homeless woman. Jerry said, I was like, I don't want to be homeless, not a Pretty Woman. And she's basically a person that's on the streets, and she's really good friends with Eric, happy man. And they're just really good friends, but I'm always watching. I've known Vivian for a long time. I know she's beautiful, and I know she's going to get more. So I'm actually the eyes and ears. I'm always seeing what's going on the block. And so that's kind of what I carry with me throughout the whole show. Even as Mary Pat, you got that look. You know, I am pushing her along because I know good things are coming. Even when I'm a nasty sister in top of two in the polo, I still know she's gonna get her self-love. And then I become Violetta in La Traviata. And so that's just almost a reflection of her. She's looking at almost herself. And La Traviata is an amazing opera. If you haven't seen it, go to the Met, see it.
Because it's
a
on,
beautiful.
I think, until the 19th or
I
something.
think so, yeah. It's an amazing opera, but in the opera, Violetta dies. And as we know, Vivian lives. But thank God. But
Happy endings, happy
Violetta is a representation of purification when she dies, because she sacrifices herself for love with Alfredo. So knowing that story and Vivian's watching it, it's a purification. And that's why I love Greg Barnes in that white outfit. Because for me, it's not just about women empowerment, feminists, it's about purification. And when you find your self-love, you become pure. And you become a whole new person. So, yeah, I just really
You may want to rewind that on your iPhone.
I just think of the white
and
of
go deep.
purification of just being clean and being new. And so I think that's just so powerful. And as Violetta, I'm the vehicle, a main vehicle to bring that change around for her, I think. And then I come back to as a homeless woman and I just sing, and then that's it. But I'm a positive force, but I'm also watching everything, and with Eric. So we're two-handed.
That's so cool. That I think that's very rare that there's a through line throughout the multiple.
Yes.
You know, because the ensemble is required to be the world of every different scene,
Right.
and I think that that's a rare gift that you have a through line between each one of those
Absolutely.
different characters
Yes.
for your own personal.
And Jerry was
story.
very specific with all of us individually. Feature or no feature, you had to know who you were, what you're doing, what's your point here. And so that was the story that I came up with Eric, and then where's my journey so everything makes sense. So it's not just, oh, she's gonna sing an opera now. There's a through line. You all can figure out where she's going and why she's doing what she's doing and why she's singing a high C at the end of the show.
Right, and the reason
Because-
why it's you,
yeah.
other than the fact that you can hit a high C.
Yeah, but there's a reason, not just singing because she's just singing.
Right, that the tracks are maneuvered that way, that
Absolutely.
they're designed that way.
By Jerry, yes, by Jerry. Yes.
Speaking of design, and you mentioned him, Greg Barnes did the costumes for this show.
Gorgeous. Greg Barnes.
Amazing.
I mean, talk about really doing that perfect balancing act of paying the homage to the film and then also making something that really works on a stage, because, you know, what you see from 10 feet away, 50 feet away, up in the balcony is very different than, like you said, the camera close-ups that are happening on film. What's the costume that, and the other thing about costume designers is it's all storytelling. They're not just making a garment, they're making a person with you. So what is the costume that you love that like completes a person for you in that scene? And then Orfe, since you're always Kit, I would say, what's the costume that you feel most Kit in?
Oh, I have very kiddish clothing. I think the thing about Greg, he and I have worked together before, and he's very collaborative, much like Jerry Mitchell and Paula. We have a lot of really wonderful people on this show that aren't very precious about their credit and their ideas. If you come to them and you say something to them, they will more than likely incorporate it into their vision, and that's what makes it so stunningly wonderful. I think Jerry specifically with Greg, because Greg and I did Legally Blonde together, and yes, woo, woo, yes, bend and snap. Sorry, well, there you go. But I think that what Jerry wanted is, because, you know, I have a certain sense of style about me, if you will.
You don't say.
I think that Jerry kept saying to Greg, put more Orfe into Kit. let it be about how kind of Orphe looks. I want the hair to look like the way she wears her hair, and I want the, you know, she wears a lot of leather and studs and things like that. It'll never change, I'm sorry. But, you know,
Never
I think,
apologize for that.
Well, you know, that's why a lot of what you see Kit wearing is an extreme, perhaps, music business or in more version of Kit. So it's a perfect blend in a marriage, because I think the thing about Kit in the movie, her costumes weren't all that exciting. They weren't. My costumes are a lot more exciting. And there's a lot more leather, and there's a lot more stuff going on. So I think maybe in another life, Kit tried to be a pop star and just couldn't cut it. So she kept all her clothes, and that's what she wears all the time. But it was a collaboration, and I think that Greg was very open about saying, Allison, what do you want to wear in this scene? What would make you feel most like Violetta, or most like, you know, Happy Man's sidekick? Renee too. Renee, what feels good on you? We're very lucky that way. We have these amazing collaborators who, again, are not all that precious about having their stamp on it. You know, it's a Greg Barnes design. Yeah. So what does it matter to Greg if you say, hey, you know, Greg, I don't really like to wear that high of a waisted acid wash, even though it's 1989. You know what I'm saying? It's just, we've been very, very lucky.
Orphe, you literally stole the words like right out of my brain. See, we're so connected.
I'm good like that.
I swear to God, I was just gonna say, like, Greg Barnes, just like Jerry, it's all about collaboration. And like, I would go into my costume fittings and it would be like a party. I mean it. We would be in there for like hours just laughing and giggling, and I'd try a bunch of things, and he'd be like, well, where do you feel the best? You know, how do you feel in this skirt? Does it make you feel like your character? They all knew Luciana, so they were like, okay, would the Paula wannabe want to wear this? And I'm like, this is it. So it's so refreshing. You know, I always say, in this business, what I value, you know, sometimes more than talent, more than prestige, is being with people who are authentic and real, and that is this whole team, and it all starts from the top down. I always say that it all trickles down, and we have Paula, you know, who we're so blessed to have, being women, you know, just sitting up here as women right now, being a woman who understands and is always there with us at rehearsals. She's like been on the journey with us every step of the way, and as actors, I know it makes us feel safe. And then you have Greg and Jerry who are like, okay, what do you think? And it makes you, you know, as a performer, feel like, okay, wow, this.
Right, you're contributing to
yes,
this. It's not
you're
just being
contributing.
put on
Yeah,
you.
and they actually care what I'm going to bring to the table, and that just makes you want to work harder.
And Greg asked me, what is your story?
Yeah.
Then that's how he built My Homeless Woman, which is based off of Bette Midler in a TV show she did when she was a homeless woman.
Expand, please.
Yes, yeah. And so randomly he showed me the video, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna do something like this. I was like, gotcha, fine, I'm good. Yeah. But it's all about storytelling. Jerry and Greg together, storytelling. So if it wasn't part of the storytelling, the costume went. Polo has changed.
Yes.
Oh, Chicago to Broadway totally changed because he didn't feel it was telling the right story. Same with End of Act One. Beautiful.
Yes.
Those outfits, and Greg was like, fine, as long as it's telling the right story and we're on the same page. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, there's no, you know what's nice, you guys? There's no ego involved in our team, which is so beautiful and rare, I think. You know, like we've all been saying, if Jerry has this beautiful idea and he walks into rehearsal, him and I did a lot of pre-production together,
right?
As the dance captain. So you know, I'm in the show every night. I'm in the ensemble, but I'm also the dance captain. So, you know, I'm in charge of keeping the choreographic integrity of the show. So, you know, I oftentimes will be, not often actually, because, you know, we've had so many things going on, but sometimes I get swung out of the show so that way I can watch and take notes and make sure that, you know, the choreography is still the way it should be.
Right, so someone takes your spot on stage.
Yes, exactly. One of our swings takes my spot, and then I get to sit and be an audience member like you guys, and I get to see the big picture, you know, and just make sure that Jerry's vision is still holding true. So along with, you know, being dance captain, I would do pre-production with Jerry. So we would go into a studio, and, you know, he just would kind of put all of his ideas out on the dance floor, and we would go through everything together for hours and, you know, create and try this dance move and try this. And it was so inspiring for me to watch, because I saw him throw away some of the most amazing ideas because again, it didn't serve the story. So I go back to there being no ego. You know, it's not about like, I'm Jerry Mitchell, so this look, I want to do this and that's it. No, it's about like, oh, is that what Pretty Woman's about? And if it's not, then we toss it.
I was gonna ask you about his choreography because I feel like you can tell when you're seeing something that is Jerry Mitchell's choreography.
Yeah.
Are there signature Jerry Mitchell moves or not?
There's a signature.
It's an energy?
No, it's
an energy, yeah.
It's also a formation. Jerry Mitchell's brilliance is in his formation. And it's the way that you see a picture choreographically. Yes. Choreographically.
Say that 5 times
fast. So that's really what Jerry Mitchell's genius is. He makes a picture. He makes a picture on stage through dance. And that's why he is who he is, because his formations, there's no one better. It's like a whole nother level where he's telling a story. And he also tailors it too. Like, what's gonna look best on Tommy Bracco? What's gonna look best on Andy Carl? What's gonna look best on everybody? He just knows how to make it come out of the gate perfectly, which is why we changed Welcome to Hollywood so much. Because if you're in a musical, you don't want a slow burn. You want to be hook, line, and sinker from the opening number. You're not waiting till Act 2 to go, oh, gee, that was a good show after all. Oh, you don't want that to happen. You want to be busted out of the gate. You want those horses out of the gate, and you don't want to be able to see them again. So I think that's what Jerry Mitchell's genius is, his formations. So you see, so he does have like, you know, welcome to the 60s and all the hairspray stuff. It's very reminiscent of what we did and What You Want in Legally Blonde, in Welcome to Hollywood is in this show. He has a specific style, and you see it and you recognize it. It's a signature. That's what it is.
Allison,
He also, I was going to say, to add that he also really understands how to move from one medium to the other, how to take a movie
Right, he's
and
done
bring it
multiple.
on stage.
Yeah.
He really understands the art of that.
Allison, you look like you wanted to add something.
I just want to say, You're Beautiful, the end of Act 1, we literally changed over 8 to 9 times.
Oh.
And it was, who was it, the 3 girls? Myself, Renee, and Jillian, doing different combination. Every day we'd come in, okay,
what
scratch, oh my
what
God.
wasn't working that he was looking for and what was the solution that we have now?
Again, it just always goes back to story because we laugh sometimes. We talk about this all the time. We're like, remember version 2.0 of Beautiful when we like, you know, had all these like fun movements,
Full dancing.
full dancing,
Full out.
But he felt like at the end of the day, when he got to sit back and look at the big picture, it didn't serve the story.
So what do we have now?
So now we have I like to say it's a delicate balance of, you know, these shop girls just presenting the dresses to Vivian, along with some nice dance moves that, again, as he always says to us in the show, pedestrian. And I love that word because, again, it goes back to, if you guys are on Hollywood Boulevard, when you're walking, even though I know you're a dancer, it's not about you being a dancer, it's about you being a person. So we need to make this feel more pedestrian. So that's, again, what it goes back to, you know, version... There had to be 97 version. Oh, we had a full dance break. We were in the studio one day and Allison was like, I said, we have to do this again.
We have to do this again.
I'm like, come on.
The last part.
Here we go.
Yeah.
But
it's storytelling. It's all storytelling
It is.
and what really is just natural and real. And it's about Vivian and her dressing. It's not about us twirling. It just isn't.
Although it looked good, but it wasn't.
It was really fierce. Trust me, everyone, it was fierce. But it's about her and getting her ready and making her feel beautiful and celebrating her more than us dancing and over choreographing it. So I think that's why he said, let
I
this
want
be
to
her
see those
moment.
old videos of what you guys were
Oh my God.
man.
My phone, I was like, my phone is on overkill because I would just video everything because, you know, then the next day he'd come in and be like, I have a new idea. And I'm like, oh God, I have to
studied
remember
that
the-
video. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of signature styles, you know, Paula brought up that you have Bryan Adams, who wrote the music for this, and it's, you know, I definitely hear some of Heaven in You and I hear some of Run to You and Rodeo Drive, and you know, I'm wondering, do you do you sing those songs? There's so much flexibility in them. Do you sing them the same way any 2 nights in a row? I mean, especially you, Orfe, you are wailing and riffing on Rodeo Drive.
Never the same. Never the same.
I don't tend to do 8 shows the same ever. And it's really because I'm trying to flex different muscles in my vocal cords. At least that's what I tell everybody. But I think with this sort of a score, you have a lot of freedom. Because I'm not in
freedom.
Exactly. I'm not. I would never ruin the integrity of a group number. I'm not going to go rogue when I'm singing with everybody. But when I have my Rodeo Drive moment, I get to play in holes. It's not. I'm never changing the melody of the verses. I won't do that because I would never do something like that. But in the holes. And also because the other day somebody asked me if my high note was tracked, and that really pissed me off. So ever since that, I was like, as if I'd ever be tracked.
Meaning that they play it instead of her
in other
singing
words,
it.
that it was fake and someone was pressing a button, I was going.
So then she sang it higher.
I sang it higher the next night, and then the night after that, I completely changed it. I'll show you tracked. I'll show you tracked. Think that it keeps look, listen, I'm always very first and foremost concerned with my cast. I care how they feel and how much fun we're having. We're doing this 8 times a week, come hell or high water. So most of the times what I do is just to be a jerk for my cast, so that when I come off stage, you go, I can't believe you did that. It's to keep it fresh for us, because you guys don't know I'm not doing that 8 times a week, unless you come every night, and I don't think you can. But literally, it's so they can have fun. It's so we can keep it fresh. So it's so when someone's schlepping in on a matinee and they have a stomach bug, it's so they have a little bit more fun that day. Honestly, I do it because I'm just such a good person.
You're giving to your friends.
I do it for my cast, but the kid that asked me if my note was tracked, Run, child, run. I'm coming for you. Yeah.
Speaking of singing to the rafters, Miss Allison Blackwell. So the night I was there, the applause was absolutely thunderous and deservedly so. Have you been surprised by the reaction to that role?
I have
To that moment?
I have been surprised, but I hear, are you tracked as well? I know that's not
This is Broadway, people. We're doing it for real.
I got that 2 days ago. Someone was like, is she really singing? Are you singing live? Absolutely. Every night.
That just means you're flawless.
So I think I'm more surprised because people don't expect the opera in general to come
in
out
the middle of
of
Brian's score. Right.
Absolutely. I think that's where I see people when I do gaze through my mask. I see more people being like, what, is this really an opera going on? Oh, okay. Oh, she's singing more. Got it. So I think that's more the surprise that I see more in the audience. It's a beautiful moment. I think the costumes are gorgeous, the moment. It's what I honestly feel people are waiting for, is that opera scene to see how it's going to work on stage. Because it's so iconic in the movie. I just remember, actually in the movie they do 3 arias from La Traviata, not 2, which I'm doing in the show. But I think people are waiting for that. But people are waiting for that opera scene, so I feel a sense of responsibility every night, and I just love doing it. I just love doing that opera scene. It's just, I think it's beautiful.
And everyone loves you for it, really.
I appreciate
Yes. Before we wrap, there is one audience reaction I am supremely curious about. I was there the night that the Marshall family and Miss Julia Roberts was in the audience. It was the best! And she was smiling her face off. That's a hard thing to come see a role, that you made and all those things. But I saw her go up on stage with you guys. I'm wondering if you can share what it was like to go on stage knowing she was there, and what she said to you guys afterwards. What was that experience of meeting her?
Well, some of us didn't know.
No, everyone knew when we were forbidden to tell Samantha.
Oh,
Forbidden.
yeah.
Did you know?
I did not
You
know.
didn't
Do you know what
I
that's
don't like
like
to know
for a
who's
group
an
of
audience.
actors to keep a secret from a castmate?
Well, especially I think it was on Instagram too. So we were like nobody. I remember like running around backstage.
Someone like
being
stole her
nobody
phone
lets
so she
Samantha
couldn't
see a
see.
phone.
It was insane.
I was like, no. Remember, I was like, you
Oh,
guys know
oh my
and everything,
God.
don't tell me. And then
Okay,
someone was
Allison
like,
was one of 2 people who.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? But yeah, and then I saw her. I was like,
She was so, you guys, she was so
nice.
sweet. But this is what I loved about it. She walked back. She was so lovely. I mean, she pointed everyone out, or Faye, Andy, Samantha, and she was like, and where is that opera singer? She like was
Where's
waiting
the
for
opera
us.
singer?
Yeah, she knows.
Where is she?
But
So
what
sweet.
I loved so much is, I think what I love so much about the film and especially Julia Roberts and I mean Samantha Barks, who is just is there's something that you just can't act, and it's that charming, like giddy, like sexy, but doesn't know that she's sexy and is kind of goofy, like that balance. Well, when Julia came backstage, we had photographers taking pictures, and she sits right in the middle of all of us, and I'm literally like kneeling down by her, and I have like my hands on her lap, and I'm like, oh my God, hi Julia. She's like, yeah, come closer. And the one photographer takes our picture, and then another photographer is coming up the ladder to take a picture, and she goes, now, what are you gonna get that the other guy didn't get? And I was like, there she is, just that like her personality, it just shined through, and I was like, and that's why we love her. So that was a cool moment.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for being here. They have a show to get to because they have an evening performance tonight, so thank you so much. Be sure to see Pretty Woman at the Nederlander Theater on Broadway. You can follow them at Pretty Woman on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow me on Instagram at Ruthie Fierceberg. Thank you so much.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Hi there.